Hello, and thank you for tuning in to ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum. No, just kidding, I'm 8mm Mauser Man, but this is going to feel a little bit like a Forgotten Weapons video because sometimes your pastor's wife asks you if you can clean a gun for her that she has that she knows nothing about, and she told me it was in 32 ACP. So I knew that it could either be a Great War gun or a gang war gun, and really anything in between. However, what I got was a nickel-plated Spanish ruby that was a French contract gun from World War I. The nickel plating was done later. It is not the original finish, and the way that you know that it is a French Great War gun is it has these two little stars on the bottom. Those are the French acceptance marks. They also have the French military acceptance mark back here, which indicates the factory. I'm not going to try and say it, though, because my Spanish pronunciation is pretty bad. So I had a few interesting things that I wanted to show you about this gun, just kind of mechanical things that I thought were cool, and then I'm also going to take it out and shoot it, because she said that I could take it out and shoot it after I cleaned it. So the first thing I want to show you that I think is kind of neat is the disassembly. Now, this gun does have a slide lock on it. However, it is not a last round slide lock. This is an empty magazine. So nothing happens. The slide lock is actually the safety, which I think is pretty neat. When you put the safety up and you pull the slide back, that locks the slide right there. Now, that is also a crucial step in the disassembly, and the disassembly for this I think is really interesting. So first you rotate the barrel 90 degrees, I guess a little more than 90 degrees. Then you're going to pull it out most of the way, then you'll rotate it back to the original spot and pull it out the rest of the way. Then you can drop the slide, and you are going to push the slide forward until it eventually pops. There we go. Now, I do want to say, I already took the grips off because I wanted to show you, and it's just some screws. And this is where I want to start showing you some of the interesting mechanical things. In my opinion, I think it is really interesting when guns have one part performing multiple functions. For example, this mainspring and guide rod is obviously the mainspring that pushes the slide forward when it cycles. However, it also is the spring and that holds the safety in place. So now it's on safe, and now it's on fire. But without that there, you can pull the safety out. You just rotate it to the place you would not normally be able to do if the grips were there. But with the grips gone, you can rotate it there and pull it out. What biases it in safety or fire is these two little flat surfaces right here and right there. Now, with that out of the way, I also want to show you how the disconnector and out of battery safety work. So you see this little piece right here? That actually slides up and down like this. And it matches this cutout right here in the slide. So when the slide is on the gun like that, when it's in the place where it would be in battery, then it is holding it. However, when it starts to slide back, so that if you're not all the way in battery, you will not be able to activate the hammer and thus activate a primer and cause damage to the firearm and to yourself for an out-of-battery detonation. However, that piece is also the disconnector. So after you fire, you're going to be holding the trigger still while the slide goes back. And the very first thing that the slide is going to do when it starts to go back is push that little piece down. And you're going to see the trigger sear move. And that right there is your disconnector. Then the slide is going to go the rest of the way back, and it's going to cock your hammer. This gun does have a hammer. It's just a shrouded hammer. It's a single action only design, so you can't normally see the hammer, but it's there. Then as you release the trigger again, it's going to go up and hit that sear as the gun goes back into battery. I think that that is pretty cool, and I really like when guns have those one parts doing several different things. This trigger mechanism is very, very, very simple. Now we're going to reassemble it. Get that back in. We'll put it in the safety position. There you go. That's your mainspring. Put the slide back on. Throw it in the fire position. Or sorry, the safety position like that. That goes back. With your barrel, you're going to have those little notches on the bottom that fit in with the grooves inside the frame. You're going to put those in the bottom. Then you're going to be able to rotate it, slide it back the rest of the way, rotate it again, let it go forward, and now you're good to go. I am going to put the grips back on though. Now, while I think it's a shame that somebody nickel-plated this gun, I do have to admit, it does look pretty cool. So I've got the Ruby out today, and I am really excited to shoot this pistol. I did fire one shot through it just to make sure that the zero was roughly on. There's a piece of steel at about 25 yards, and I was able to hit it with this little pistol. So I have an IPSC set up at 10. All right, let's take some shots. And I'm pretty sure I'm empty. Yep. That first magazine is an original one that holds 9 rounds. This one only holds 7, and it has this weird brass piece on the bottom of the base plate. I'm not exactly sure where this magazine came from. What am I doing shooting this with 2 hands? This pistol's really cool. It is very heavy. For being in a pocket pistol caliber, it is not pocket pistol sized. It's quite big. I'm sure I could fit it in my pocket, but it is quite big. What that means is that it is a very easily recoiling gun. Like, it is not recoiling hard at all. I was shooting pretty fast, and I think I threw 1 round into the C zone, but the rest of my rounds were all in the A zone. Now I'm all out. I only have those 2 mags. Let me go load up some more. Now, as I said in the disassembly portion of this video, the finish and grips are not original to this gun. However, the grips I quite like because they're a little bit thicker, so they fill my hands, and it also gives a little shelf for my thumb when I am shooting one hand only, kind of like this gun was originally meant for. So these are my rounds from earlier. Like I said, I had 1 round in the C zone, and then this was my group with the slow fire. It's a little bit high and to the right, but I would say that that is actually a pretty good group. It looks like to be about 2 inches with 9 shots. Now, if it's 1950 and a German jumps into my trench, I'm probably just going to empty this at him, so let's do it, one-handed. I'm going to be honest, I was not really using the sights, I was just sort of point shooting, but it looks like they're still on target. Let's try a few shots at that steel gong. The sights aren't exactly to point of aim, and I'm not going to modify it because it's not my gun. However, I'm not really having a hard time hitting that target either, so even at 25 yards, this pistol is doing pretty good. So in 1915, there are better options, but there's also a lot of worse options. Yes, you do have 32 ACP, which is a relatively small caliber. You have very fine sights that aren't necessarily good for practical close-range shooting. And you have a safety that's not great. But that being said, you also have relatively quick magazine changes. You have an accurate and reliable gun. And you have 9 rounds of 32 ACP, which is better than some of the Great War options. In my personal opinion, I would definitely choose 9 rounds of 32 ACP over 7 rounds of 7.62 Nagant. Well, especially if you consider the gun that you get with 7.62 Nagant.
Oh man, I don't know if I can do it. Woo. Use 2 fingers. Wow, that is heavy.
So, I quite like this gun. I like shooting it a lot. Would I like to use it in combat? No. Would I recommend concealed carrying it today? No. But, as a historical piece, it's not bad. It's actually a lot of fun. And I would say for the Great War, you could do a whole lot worse. Safety. Man, once I got the dope figured out, I can hit that little piece of steel at 25 yards, no problem, every single time. All right, well, I'm all out of ammo. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm 8mm Mauser Man, and I shot the Spanish Ruby, but I lived on.
Or so the Germans would have us believe.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.